My name is Kate. Welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you are new. So, November marks 1 year since I started my adult coloring journey. So, to celebrate this, I have a couple of anniversary themed videos planned for this month. And I thought, to kick it all off on a positive note, what would be better than looking at my 10 favorite pages that I've colored so far? So, that's what we're going to do today. I will show you the pages in no particular order, and I will talk a little bit about what makes them a favorite page. So let's jump right in and get started. So I know I did say no particular order, but I did want to start off by showing you this one. This page was the first page that I ever completed after I started adult coloring. So it will always have a very special place in my heart. It's very sentimental to me. When I thought about the top 10 pages that I've colored this past year, this one just felt like it naturally just had to be there. Techniques wise, it probably isn't the best of the pages that I'm going to show you today. But again, just because it's so sentimental to me and it marks the start of my journey, I thought I really need to put this in my top 10. It will probably always be one of my very favorite pages that I've colored for that exact reason. So yeah, it just had to be in there. Oh, and this page is from A Million Unicorns by Lulu Mayo. Now, the rest of the pages really are in no particular order. So the next one I want to show you is this one from Sweet and Simple Whimsy Girls by Hannah Lynn. I colored this one quite recently. It was only in September this year. And I did try my best to make sure that I chose pages, that don't just have that recently colored feel. Because of course I feel quite drawn to the pages I've completed recently. I keep evolving in my coloring style, and so what I like keeps changing. And of course the most recent pages I've colored represent what I like right now. So I did try very hard to make sure that I selected pages from different stages of my coloring journey that really represents true favorites and not just that recently completed bias. So, but this one was still one that I felt like it had to be on the list. I really like this color palette. It was quite different for me. And I worked on, blending with my alcohol markers and everything. And I was just very, very proud of how this page came out. I love it. Next up, I've got a page from Small Victories by Johanna Basford. And the page I wanted to show you was this one that I completed back in April. This page was a body color, and I really wanted to, challenge myself and get out of my comfort zone and really choose a color palette that wasn't very natural. So I went for this pink for the water, for example, green for the trees, and I'm really, really pleased with how it came out. These are some of my favorite colors, which you will notice as we go through. There are a couple of other pages where these pink, purple, teal colors feature quite prominently. So you will definitely see a color theme in some of these pages. But yeah, this one is definitely one of my favorites. I also tried to shade with some slightly different colors. For example, on this house, I tried to shade with a little bit of purple. And on this whale, I tried to shade with, I think that's some purple as well, although it might also be a dark blue, just to make it look a little bit different. And again, I was so proud of how this one came out. Next up, I got another Lulu Mayo book, and this one is A Million Mermaids. This was another really early page for me. I completed it in December last year. It was also a buddy color, and again, I was very, very proud of how this page came out at the time. I saw this page and I immediately thought of these little flowers up here as lamps. So, I had to play with like the glow effect and everything. I made sure that the background around here was darker than the background that would kind of fall within this glow. She's got glow on her hair, there's glow on this kitty, on these little bunnies, and also on all of these flowers. I even put in a little bit of white gel pen to kind of make it seem like, you know, this light reflection comes through the water down here. So yeah, I was again really pleased with this page. Definitely had to be featured in my top 10 favorite pages that I've completed so far. Next up, from Romantic Country, the third tale, I chose this double page spread. Let me just move the camera up a little bit so you can actually see. Okay, that's better. We managed to get at least almost all of it in the frame. So this double page spread with the mermaids, I completed it in Mermaid, and it was also a buddy color. I used some washi tape to make the mermaids' tails, and I was also really proud of how these red flowers in particular came out, the hibiscus flowers. I experimented, you know, with some white gel pen here on the water to create this ripple effect. And yeah, I think it turned out really beautiful. Then from Symphony of Cute Animals by Kanoko Egusa, we've got this page. For this one, again, I tried to experiment with some slightly more realistic effects. For example, here on these marbles and also on the frogs. And again, I was really pleased with the final result. I feel like, you know, the flowers could have been a little bit more realistic to go with the slightly more realistic style of the frogs and the marbles. But overall, again, I'm really happy with how it came out. And I also put some glossy accents here on these marbles, so they're very shiny. Yeah, so that was fun as well. Then I got Mermaid Legends by Anastasia Caldereva. And the page I wanted to show you from this book was this one, which I colored back in March of this year. It was my first time trying, you know, a more realistic hair and skin effect. And this page just took me so long to complete. You know, hours and hours. I did each little section of the hair separately. And, you know, I think it really paid off because I am very happy and very proud of how she turned out. And it's definitely also influenced how I have colored, you know, portraits since then. I took a lot of what I learned from this page and tried to put it into even some of my simpler portraits and some of my grayscale portraits to try to make the hair especially look a bit more realistic, I suppose. Okay, up next is Moon Valley by Maria Trolle. I colored a lot in this book because it was my project book for the first half of the year. It was also one of my first coloring books. But the page I really wanted to show you today that I was, you know, especially pleased with how it came out was this one that I colored back in February. This was my first time trying a bokeh effect for the background, and I was, you know, really excited by how well I was able to do it in, you know, in my opinion, for a first try. Of course, there's still things to learn and still things to work on, but yeah, I really liked how it came out. I was also really pleased with, you know, the blends that I managed to do on these flowers. For example, this one has got, you know, purple, pink, and, you know, a slightly more lavender kind of tone. And yeah, I really enjoyed coloring this page and I really like how it came out. Okay, there's only 2 more pages to go. So the next one is from Cozy Spaces by Rada Prince. I colored this page back in June for my Color the Oceans hashtag. And I think coloring in this book was a really enjoyable experience. I really enjoyed everything about this page, really. I used a mixture of my Neo colors, my alcohol markers, and of course my colored pencils on top. And again, I'm just really happy with how it came out, as is the case with all the pages in this video, because, you know, it's my top 10 favorites. Some of these pages were really easy to choose. You know, I didn't even have to look through my books. They just came to mind immediately when I sat down and wanted to film this video. And this page was one of those pages. So yeah, I like how the gradient goes from like a deep blue down here to a light blue up here. And I really like the shading on her clothing, on her skin. Yeah, I think it turned out really beautiful. And then the last page that I have to show you today is from Amazingly Adorable Characters collection by Derya Chakrusay. This one is another one of my very favorite books. I really love the grayscale that Derya puts in her pictures. And this is the only page I colored in this book so far, but I think, you know, it came out really, really beautiful. Again, you can see the kind of pink and teal colors coming through. And you can see in her hair that, again, I used some of those things that I learned from that other portrait that I showed you before. I also worked on trying to make, you know, parts of her fins, for example, down here on the fluke of her tail, and those back fins that she's got up here look a bit more translucent, so you can kind of see, you know, the other bits coming through of her tail down here and of her shoulder up here. So that was really fun as well. And yeah, that's another page that I really, really love, you know, how it came out. Okay, so that was the last page that I had to show you today. As I said, some of these pages were really, really easy to pick out. Like, they sprang to mind immediately when I thought of filming this video, before I even looked through my books. Other ones surprised me a little bit, you know, when I went through. They weren't necessarily favorites at the time that I colored them. In particular, for example, the page from Moon Valley. Where did it go? Yeah, it wasn't a favorite at the time that I colored it, but now looking back at it, I really, really like how it came out. So yeah, some of them were really easy to pick out. Others were surprising to me when I went back and had a look at them and, you know, remembered how much fun it was coloring them, and also just looking back and seeing how differently I feel about some of them now. But I thought this was a very fun idea for a video. It was really nice to look back and kind of see, you know, where I started, where I am now. And as I said, I do have a couple of other kind of anniversary related coloring videos that I would like to share with you this month in November. So if you would like to see those, make sure you subscribe so that you don't miss it. I would love to hear which one of the pages I showed you today was your favorite. And I would also love to hear if you have a favorite page that you've colored in all the time that you've been on your coloring journey. So yeah, I would love to hear about that down in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up, and I hope to see you in my next one. Thank you so much for watching today. Bye!